You're watching Leafs Morning Take with host Nick Alberga and former NHLer Jay Rosehill. The show starts now.
Hello and welcome. It is Thursday, November 14th. Nick Alberga, Jay Rosehill, the Thursday edition of Leafs Morning Take. We're feeling really good after that come-from-behind victory. Taylor Swift's in town. There was a Travis Kelce sighting in town yesterday. It's looking up big this weekend for the Maple Leafs. The Oilers in town on Saturday, Rosie. What's going on, buddy?
Holy lots going on. What's happening? Yeah. Rare come from behind win. I was saying, when's the last time they pulled one of those? It seems like when they battle back just enough, maybe they can get it into overtime, but they don't seem to be able to have those, real feel good come from behinders. So last night was a little bit of a treat.
I don't know. I have a pretty long memory. I've seen that like 15 times every season where they pull that stunt where they don't. I don't know. I don't want to say they no-showed for the first two periods. I thought they're way better than the Ottawa game, but they show up and then it's like, oh yeah, like where was this the rest of the game? We're going to dive into that. Should mention off the top a special welcome to producer Andy. That's because producer Vic, I want your stance on this. He is down south for his bachelor party. Producer Vic is getting married in a couple months. A week-long trip at a destination resort for a bachelor party. What are we doing these days, Rosie?
A week with the boys at a resort way down south. I have never heard of it, but hats off to him for pulling that one off. And in the same year as a big wedding, I better check his salary because I think it's a little higher than mine, obviously.
Well, I would say first and foremost, if you're getting married, I don't think you're paying very much. I think the boys are setting you up, no?
I don't know what's kosher on that. They're going to cover your whole week-long inclusive vacation and your flight and your everything. That's pretty generous. I think my boys got me a bottle of whiskey and said, don't screw this up. So, hey, maybe I'm hanging out with the wrong crowd.
Dude, I'll tell you, times have changed. I don't know if it's a Toronto thing. I've been to a bunch of different destination bachelor parties where I'm giving a lot of money to make sure the groom has the time of his life. You're right. What happened to the old bottle of wine? Congratulations, do your thing. Like, it's out of control. If I ever get married one day, man, my buddies are going to owe me like a Ferrari or something. The money I've dished out for some of their weddings, insane to me, dude.
You guys are on the girls' train of thought there. We're just time
Crazy.
to blow.
You're right, though.
It's so exciting. Let's blow all our money as a young couple and start from behind the eight ball. Smart move, boys. Smart move. I don't get it, but hats off. He's going to have a blast.
Yes, hats off to producer Vic. Well-earned time off. So producer Andy in the mix. He's our guy already. Already called us a squid, which is our terminology before we come on this show. We call each other squids to pump each other up for this show. So we're good to go today, buddy.
It's the new pigeon, I guess. I like it, though. I like it. It fits. Usually when I'm calling you that, it fits really well.
I bet it does. The producer Andy are off to a good start here on Leafs Morning Take. Could you only imagine if the Leafs didn't come back in the third period, the vibes, the moods on this podcast today? I could tell you right now, it wouldn't be great.
I was getting ripped on Twitter for being a yo-yo, like pick a side, man. Either you love them or you hate them. And I'm like, I don't really either one of them, but I just roll with the stuff that they give me out there, man. They're back and forth, but yeah, pretty nice response yesterday where they didn't have their best stuff, but that's pure character win, the polar opposite of what they had going on in the Ottawa game, if you ask me.
Yeah, I don't know if you saw this. There's, I guess, the 15th or 16th attempt at trying to cancel X or Twitter, and people have started a new platform. It's called Blue Sky. But whatever device or platform you're on last night, it was like the good, the bad, the ugly of social media. Just like you, dude, I had people in my mentions saying this is the worst team ever. The calculator community yesterday saying this team couldn't score goals. They stunk. Everything and then some. And then they come back in the third period. Mitch Marner for Hart Trophy, give him $16 million per season. John Tavares is in 09 form right now. So we saw everything on social media. That's in a nutshell right there. I don't think you're seeing that on Blue Sky, though.
Blue Sky, what is that? Honestly, because Elon backs Trump and you're just going to hate on him and then in return hate on X and then try to get a new platform going, I am not playing your game. You can take that garbage and go play with it on your own. I don't think stuff like that should be political in any way, shape, or form. So Blue Sky or whatever that, I can imagine the people that are signing onto that, it'd be pretty embarrassing. So not a chance in hell, but yeah, doesn't matter where you are, you can find toxicity in the environment, and especially if you're hanging around in Leafs Nation some nights, but not the end of last night.
Blue Sky sounds like the next Bond film. That's my read on things. But let's look first and
Yeah,
foremost
the
at the Atlantic
musical
Division
version.
standings. Getting a little jammed up here are the standings in the Atlantic Division. The Florida Panthers, 23 points. Look and behold behind you, the Maple Leafs, albeit the Panthers have 2 games in hand, but the Leafs 1 point behind Florida. It's still very, very muddy, and that's why I thought this stretch of games, Rosie, against Atlantic Division teams would favor the Maple Leafs. They won 3 of those in regulation, lost to Ottawa, but they keep racking up the wins. So I'm feeling pretty good about this team. But there has been some inconsistency issues. But I think if there's one thing we've learned early on with this Atlantic Division, every game is going to be difficult. That includes Montreal at the bottom. They haven't played Buffalo yet, but we saw the Ottawa Senators the other night. It should be an intriguing season overall in this division.
Yeah, it sure is. And I mean, I think we're going to look back at that stretch without Austin Matthews and say, wow, we garnered a lot of important points there. And it makes that Ottawa game the more because I think that's one you should win. And yeah, that's a very high standard. And yeah, maybe it's not fair to hold them to that highest standard. But if you're talking about winning the Atlantic and keeping up and even surpassing the Florida Panthers, you just can't let one sneak away like that. But in return, I think they might have stole one last night. Absolutely out of nowhere, found everything, including 2 goals that were turned back, which I'm not saying unrightfully so, but they were obviously throwing a lot, including the kitchen sink at the Washington Capitals last night, late in the game. Managed to get it done, get it into overtime, and then completely dominate overtime and find a way to get the 2 points. I mean, a total shocker. I can't imagine what the Washington Capitals locker room was feeling after that one. I imagine it was pretty quiet. But again, you don't see the Leafs do that too often, so it's a nice character gutsy win to be able to find a way to get it done when you may not have your best stuff for the majority of the game.
Yeah, Washington looked absolutely shell-shocked in the third period in OT, and I just had that feeling as soon as the Leafs tied it, the way they tied it, they were going to win that game in OT, and they dominated, quite frankly, in OT. You got to, circle that save on Ovechkin first and foremost. What a pass from Marner to put it just enough so it's not icing, just enough so Logan Thompson couldn't come out. And John Tavares, we talk about this a lot. This guy seems to have a knack for the dramatics. He has scored some, you don't want to call this a big goal. It's a game 18 of the season, but he also scored the only goal that sent Toronto to round 2 for the first time in 20 years. Like, it just seems like he scores some monster goals for this team. TLN family, we want to know what you like and don't like, what you want to see more on this show, and how we can make the Leafs Nation your go-to destination for news. To help us achieve that goal, please click on the link I'm about to post right now on YouTube. It is now live, or go to the show description on YouTube or podcast. We have several $250 Fanatics gift cards to give away. That's $250 to Fanatics, to several people. To be eligible, all you have to do is fill out the survey. It's pretty simple here, Rosie.
Yeah, sounds like a no-brainer. You get to say what you think of the show, what you like, what you dislike. I'm sure some people are going to say, Nick and Jay swear too much. But honestly, the amount that we swear on this show, if you got a problem with it, maybe you're a little bit uptight. That's all I got to say. But yeah, go click that link, take the survey. 250 at Fanatics. What could you get? Like a Matthew Knies jersey, maybe?
I was thinking about that last night. A Knies jersey. Maybe you can get him a custom Jay Rosehill jersey, vintage Jay Rosehill. Like, the opportunities are endless, man.
You'd have to go deep into the arsenal to find one of those, my man. But yeah, sky's the limit with that.
I was laughing last night. Jay's a really good follow on X these days. I think his Blue Sky account is coming very soon. But you posted along the lines of all the video reviews, and I think it was after the Lorentz disallowed goal. You said you knew how Lorentz felt after. We often joke about you scoring 5.5 goals. We saw the 0.5 back in the day. It was a revenge goal against the Flyers that they called back, but you posted the YouTube video of it last night.
I hadn't got to the Flyers yet, so there was no connection at
Okay.
that point. But yeah, I don't know what the deal was, but it was to start the game, and they quickly threw us out there, Pronger and Richards and Giroux and those guys. We went out there and just had a little bit of a bull in a china shop shift where we banged and crashed a little bit, got it deep, got some pucks on net, and I ended up kind of whacking one in, probably with my glove a little bit. But they went upstairs forever. I don't know if that was like 2010. I remember staying there going, oh my God, and they pulled it away. And I was just like, this just isn't fair, man. I'm counting that as a half a goal for the rest of my career because, as you know, they didn't come all too often.
It's been a bit of yours for like 20 years now, and now specifically on this podcast. And for those of you, go check out this video. I have not seen somebody hornier on a forecheck in my life, and I'm including current Maple Leafs. And that's a future Hall of Famer and Chris Pronger that you hunted down on the forecheck. You came off that bench. I don't know what you ripped on that bench, but you were horny, man, for that forecheck.
I used to get jacked up for my shifts, man, but it's all I wanted to do on the big stage is just run around like a dog and hammer everything that moved and just try to get puck possession, get in front of the net, just bang and crash, and then get the hell off and just turn back and go, "Was that good, Dad? Was that good, Daddy?" to the coach back there. "Can I play some more?" But yeah, that's what you got to bring when you want to stay in that league, is in my mind.
Carlisle's like, get the fuck off the ice.
Yeah, I think it was
Yeah.
Wilson, but yeah,
Oh,
yeah, more or less.
You weren't there when we had Carlisle on last year, right? I wonder why.
Did I miss that one?
It's
I don't
possible.
know.
It's
I
possible.
can't say it would be welcome to hear his voice in my ears, to be completely honest with you. He was a bit of a dick to me and, in general, pretty arrogant, but,
We should have a reunion with all these guys. Who was the other guy that you're a big fan of? The assistant coach, Tim Hunter, was it?
yeah, Hans, we've
Yeah,
kinda made amends. I saw him at a
that's
golf
good.
tournament, and he was all kind and buddy-buddy, and I heard on a podcast that he was saying, though, he may have some regrets about the way he, went about some of his coaching and stuff, but I don't know. There's some coaches of the old school who would it's kind of weird. Their job is to get you to play as good as possible, and in some leagues, get you to the next level and develop you and make you as good a player as you can. And all they did was talk down to you and knock you down and call you out and pull up video and rewind just to embarrass you. And I'm just like, I just don't know why this would be the tactic on getting a young player to play as good as possible. Some guys, I don't know, the era they grew up in, they thought that was the way to go, but I think we're definitely seeing in this NHL that has basically moved on.
I do appreciate the accountability if that is the case with guys like Tim Hunter. It's great to see. We got another beauty on today's podcast. Jamie McLennan of TSN is going to drop by in about 20, 25 minutes from now.
Yeah, that'll be nice. I want to ask him a couple things about that game, but specifically, there seems to be some controversy around some of the goaltender interference calls. They're going upstairs. It's taking a while. Do you get it right, or do you let it go? Do you want more goals, or do you want to, use the technology to get the call right? It's kind of a hot topic right now, especially after last game with the Leafs in Washington, where they went upstairs 4 times. It's a little bit
Too
crazy.
many times, dude. That game went on for hours. Like it was like almost 11 Eastern. It felt when that game was done. I don't know what was going on, and it was a late start.
Yeah, it was a late start.
Uh,
We'll ask him. In my mind, like when they get calls wrong and then they just drop the puck, people are screaming, "We have HD cameras everywhere. Get the call right for the good of the game." So okay, we're gonna go do that, and then they do, and they're like, "That took 2 minutes to go upstairs." It's like, well, geez, what one do you want? My problem is the garbage camera angles. Like, are you telling me that the crossbar is the standard on what a high stick is and what it isn't in front of the net, and you don't have a camera just zinging
I
right
know.
down the crossbar height? Like, what are we doing that would make it easy? And then also on the Lorentz goal, I mean, he probably did use his knee motion to knock that thing in, but you zoom in a little bit and it looks like you're using a Nokia 5300 gas powered freaking choke to start cell phone. Like, thanks for that view, NHL. You telling me this day and age you can't get a clear picture of that? And I mean, there's a chance that could have hit his shot. Like, if you're going to go get it right and put the goddamn cameras in. You have billions of dollars of revenue. Throw some cameras in the buildings and maybe get a couple of guys up there that can expedite the process when there is a maybe not type of goal, and have the thing ready to rock so you can tell the ref that's 100% a goal. Boom, easy, quick thing. You got it right. It didn't take forever.
I think they're using maybe a Motorola Razor from back in the day. If you didn't own a Razor, I don't know what you were doing with your life back in the day. That seemed to be the phone of everybody's choice in high school. Anyways, make sure you get your super chats in at the Leafs Nation 401 here on YouTube. Hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. Leafs Morning Take, wherever you find your podcast. Make sure to leave us a 5-star review. We'd greatly appreciate that. Also, don't forget to visit theleafsnation.com. So, again, Jamie McLennan of TSN coming up. We're going to dive into this game now, a 4-3 OT victory for the Maple Leafs in Washington. What do you think the size of Matthew Knies' nuts are, Rosie? Massive is the fucking answer, dude. Like, I don't know. And I was dying last night, folks. You got to go check out last night's edition of the Leafs Nation After Dark. A rare unscheduled appearance for Jay Rosehill, who is supremely horned up. You revealed that your wife thinks Knies he's a hottie. You think he's a hottie. We love the player. We want a statue built after this guy. This guy's DNA, once again, all over game 18, dude. It started in the second period, the third period, the back check with the empty net, drawing the penalty. Like, the guy makes so many big time plays. And dare I say he has that clutch gene. Like, I'm starting to wonder, because you look at the playoffs too in 2 short years. Seems like Matthew Knies is always doing some big things for this team.
Yeah, man. I remember when he came out of college and we interviewed, and we interviewed him twice, and I talked to you afterwards, and I was like, man, that guy's got like some it factor, some confidence. He seems to carry himself well. Like, he's not afraid of the moments that are ahead of him. He's ready to just to explode. Like, his expectations of himself seem to be like very high. Like, he's just ready to progress at a quick level. And we thought, man, I'm excited to get this guy in a Leafs uniform. Some naysayers will be like, don't expect this kid to make any bit of a difference, blah, blah, blah. I don't think even the most optimistic person could have thought that he would be this effective this soon in his career. But like you mentioned, he does everything out there, like everything. How about that Montreal game? He fucking hammers Slavkovsky. Like, do you see Ryan Reeves throw a hit like that this year? No, but our first liner is our power play guy. Like, he does everything. He works his absolute bag off. He plays big. He plays tough. You remember sticking up for his teammates in the playoffs, saying, "Go me, then go me." That's what I thought. Get the hell out of here. He's got that gene. He's got the finishing factor. He can make plays. He can play with the big boys. He does everything out there, and he's a big power forward, big body. And yeah, I would not be surprised if he scores some very big goals for this organization in the future, because I think he's got all the right stuff, and the fact that he's developed this quickly shows he's got all the right stuff. And I'm just I don't even want to say shocked or surprised, because I expected him to be good. I liked everything I saw when I went and looked at his game coming out of college. Doesn't always transfer, but it blows my mind the effect this guy has. They don't even come close to winning that game if he's not in the lineup.
Most importantly, he is so likable. And I think it's the way he plays hockey. Like, there's nothing flashy about Knies' game, but then there's like that humble reminder every now and again. We're like, damn, this kid's good. Like, on the Nylander 3-2 goal, I thought he was going to like make a pass or force a pass or over deke, and none of that happened. Like, he made an incredible play and then a tap in for Willie on the doorstep. But it just seems like he's way above his years, where it's like you look at the birth certificate, you're like, man, he's young. And then he plays like a 26-year-old. But I think at the forefront is just his likability is through the roof.
Well, it's because he works his bag off, right? Like, you respect guys like that. Sometimes, how good are some of the players that have been on this roster that take a lot of heat? It's because sometimes they can go into street hockey mode. And I think with the passion around this fan base, they want to see more Darcy Tucker in a guy, and that's just not the norm. And then here you got this guy that has all the skill and the tools to finish those goals and to rip that home. And some of the goals that he's scored are just like a quick pop on his stick and it's in the top corner, like gone. He's got that poise to be able to do that, but he also just works like just his legs are just an engine that just go, go, go. He can chase a guy down. He can hit him. He's a big body. He's strong as hell. He knows how to protect the puck, make the plays. And he's just got all the tools. Like, I think I don't know if I tweeted a long time ago that in the future, and I mean, I just picture this guy being with the Leafs for like 12, 15 years, hopefully.
Yeah.
But in the future, I could see him wearing the C on his chest for this organization, because he's got all those intangibles that add up to an unbelievable leader. And the start that I don't want to build him up too much, but I don't think he's one of those guys where you put a lot of eggs in the basket and he just lets you down. I think that he's a guy that just only gets better and does things the right way. And he's shown that so far in his short career.
Without question, his DNA all over this come from behind victory. So were the DNA of John Tavares, another strong outing. He's been exceptional. Again, the poise and the patience in OT to go 5-hole there on Logan Thompson. I thought it was an exceptional pass, whether he'll admit it or not, by Mitch Marner to get it just deep enough where Thompson couldn't come out. It was an icing, and then JT finishes it. And I thought it was like a perfect game-winning goal, because it had every element. You got the big save on Ovechkin, the classic like stand-up save by Woolsey, then the flip there, the alley-oop flip by Marner, and the finish by JT. But You talk about guys stepping up in the absence of one of the best players on the planet. These guys have done that, and JT and Marner's been great as of late. So has Nylander.
I know, and that popped out. Like I was watching with my boys, my youngest even. I just yelled, I cheered when they tied it up, and he's yelling, "Who scored?" from bed. And I was like, "Get out here for overtime!" And when Ovi walked down on that, I just went, "No!" Like he's on a tear. They're talking about him all the time. He's on a mission for Gretzky's record. The Leafs have in the past gotten themselves into overtime and kind of are famous for doing just enough to get your hopes up and then ultimately losing. And when number 8 walked down and wound up that clap bomb, I just
I
yelled,
was like, oh,
"No!" And then it
I know.
pops out, and all of a sudden JT's all alone. It was beautiful. And yeah, Marner's been fantastic. That shot to tie it up, they go cross, seam again, which when they do that, I'm just like, I just scream that a stick's taking it down. I'd rather just fire that at a pad and bang away at it to get one of those goals to get you in overtime. But from the other angle, you can see the seas just part. It was the perfect play, and Mitch made no mistake with it, and then was also a part of the overtime winner. He's just playing lights out right now, and I know we're talking about JT for a second, but Mitch, when
Yeah.
like yesterday, he's just got his wheels going, like he's flying down the wing, runs into a D man that he doesn't quite have a step on, chips it by, and flies around him and gets it again, and then funnels it to the net. Like Mitchy, that's the stuff that people dog on you about. You have the ability to do that. Like what a force he was out there, and like a great hockey player, great skill, can put up the points. But if you want to become a bit of a workhorse and kind of get a little bit of that Nathan McKinnon into your game. Not that he's going to be a power forward, but like go work your bag off and use your speed that complements your skill and get gritty and go wide on a guy and take it to the net. Like he was so noticeable. We expected him to have a big season on this contract year, but
Yeah.
I mean, he was a huge part of that win as well. And then JT, he just seems like Mr. Clutch, man. When he's got the puck on the stick, taking it to the net, when he gets an opportunity, and it's JT, I just, instead of being like, "Oh, come on," it's like, here it comes, and he seems to finish more often than not. He's proven that he can play, at a high level in this league as well.
I was going to add too, like on the tying goal for Marner, JT, a crucial face-off victory. He's done that all season long. He's done
Clean.
that all career long. It was clean. It was massive. In the moment, you don't realize how quickly they scored off that face-off. It was like boom, 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 1T on Marner, and he goes roof daddy with it. But I think you have to credit the coaching staff. I know they talk about Mark Savard quite a bit in the face-off plays. There's no doubt in my mind. He had that drawn up. If you watch the replay, Savard's celebration, he was frisky, he was fired up. And it's, naturally, I think the question that comes to mind, at least for me watching that game, where was that in the first two periods? Like, I have every reason, Leafs fans have every reasons to be frustrated. I know they won the game. That's great, Rosie. It's about the process, though. Where the hell was that for the first two periods? Then you show up in the third period and you show up and are the team that many people expect you to be.
But I don't think it's fair to expect any team in the entire world to play 60 minutes every single night. It's just not possible. And you're not going to have it every single night. You're not going to be firing all cylinders, controlling the pace of play, be outplaying the other team. I mean, there's another team over there. Sometimes they get the momentum and they're playing well, and you're doing everything you can to get it done. And I thought that the first two periods, while they weren't controlling the play, it was completely different than the Ottawa game. Like they were actually trying the right things, and they stuck to the process. Ottawa game was just the guys. Everyone was a passenger. Everyone expected everybody else to take, control of the game and do the right things. And then in those first two periods, was it perfect? No. A couple of those goals, like, we can talk about Domi really struggling right now. Sometimes he's,
Yeah.
over back checking, under back checking, picking the wrong guy. It's not going well for him. And those things are happening, but at the end of the day, they stuck to the process, stayed with it, kept their heads screwed on, kept themselves dialed and focused, and got the job done, which at the end of the day, that's all that matters. And you're not going to have your best stuff every single 60 minutes. So I think you got to give them a little bit of a breather there, because even the best teams in the world aren't controlling every game 60 minutes long. It's not going to happen in the NHL. So I kind of gave him a pass on the first 40 minutes and, tip my cap to the fact that they stayed on the process and got the job done, which is even more impressive.
Yeah, it certainly wasn't the Ottawa game. I thought it was a much better effort. In fact, I was prepping for this show after 40, and I'm like, you know what? I can live with this game. Like the Capitals have had a really good start to this season. They were dialed in, and then you give them even more credit for the way they came out in the third period. If you recall, all the action didn't take place till like the second half of the third period, but they kept hammering on that doorstep. Logan Thompson made some good saves in that game, I felt, but he looked like not confident. Every time like the puck hit him, it was like he was looking backwards. I just felt like it was only in a matter of time. And then you factor in the two disallowed goals, man. The more and more I watch the replay on the Knies disallowed goal, I'm like, is there an angle we didn't see? Like, is there an angle that they didn't show on TV where it definitively tells you that, hey, it's a high stick? And of course, producer Andy putting it on the screen right now, but I don't know. I'm in the committee where it's like I want to see more offense in this league. Like even the Lorenz goal, like I mean, I don't know where we're at in terms of that, and people want to make their call this way or that way, but like I'm looking for offense, and like it wasn't blatant what he was trying to do. I would have probably counted both goals. I will say by letter of the law, they made the right calls, but I want to see more offense in this league.
Well, your MO is either to get it right or it's not, or to let it go. And you can't have it both ways. And the big thing is, if you're going to have video replay and you're going to have rules, you got to understand that there's going to be a time where it comes into play, and it could be game 7 of the Stanley Cup playoffs. And then some guy high sticks it, way up high stick around some guy's face and eyes and tips it in and
Mhm.
ties up game 7. I just don't. I think you have to have a clear cut decision for that exact situation, or it will be mayhem and it will be bad for your game. If I just think this day and age, you have the ability to do quick video replay. I think that angle that we just saw is garbage. A 3/4 angle, like down the 45-degree. Like, what the hell's that going to tell you? Get one right on the crossbar, like in the corner. It can be built into the goddamn dasher of the boards this day and age. I'm going to break this light in a million pieces in a second. You can have it built in anywhere this day and age. Get it right along the crossbar, and it'll be clear cut. Like, they keep showing these garbage angles. I'm like, give me an angle that shows how high his goddamn stick was. Was it above the crossbar or not? It should be easy in a $1 billion, league like this. To If you're gonna have video replay and you say we want to get it right, then do just that and get video replay proper and get it right, and have the guys upstairs to get it right. I have no problem with getting the call right. You can't high stick the puck in the net. You can't use your knee or your leg to forward motion direct it into the net. You just can't. And if you do, we're going to have cameras on it, and we're going to really quickly say, "Pop, hold on, stop the game. That didn't count. End of story. Drop the puck." It's not that hard. I think they're just in some growing pains right now.
I know you're having issues with that light. I will tell you, it's not coming through on camera, anyways. We can't even
Oh.
tell, so don't worry about it. It's like you're fighting a ghost or somebody. You're really
Well,
peeved
I
off
look
about
and
it.
I'm look like I'm in the bloody crypt right now. It's so dark, and then I
You're
throw this
good,
light on, and it
man.
just dies after about 2 minutes. I don't understand why.
You should wear like a mask on the show or something.
We all wear masks, metaphorically speaking.
Oh, is that what happens? Especially
Name
on this Leafs podcast.
name that movie. You can't do it. You're too young feller.
What movie is it?
The Mask.
Oh, it's one of my favorites. How did I not recognize that quote? Cameron Diaz in that movie? Holy.
I was watching Bad Teacher the other day, and
Oh,
yeah, but I was like, that's the girl from The Mask, like the all-time rockets of all with Shia or something else.
dude,
And
you
then
remember that growing up watching The Mask, man? I had to step away from life for a couple hours watching that movie, man.
I didn't know. I didn't even put together like something about Mary comes out and stuff. I was like, I didn't even know that girl was Cameron Diaz for the longest time. But my goodness, yeah, they had some good casting going on for that one.
Oh, absolute rocket launcher. That movie's very underrated. Remember the dog Milo? One of the
Mhm.
smartest dogs you ever find in a film. Great movie. Go check it out. I might watch that this weekend. So recapping this 4-3 OT victory again, Jamie McLennan at TSN is going to drop by at some point here. Pretty nice as well for OEL. It was 1,000 game number 1,000. I'm sure he's going to be recognized prior to the game against Edmonton on Saturday night, but he's been steady for this team. 20-55 of ice. I thought they did a good job overall on Ovechkin, by the way. 1 assist. I don't know about these shot props, man. It felt like Ovi did nothing, and then he had 4 shots on goal, but he had 0 midway through the third period. All of a sudden, he finishes with 4. But I thought they did a good job on one of the hottest players in the planet, period.
Yeah, they kept him at bay for sure. Man, like OEL, absolutely 1,000 games. I was saying last night when he came here, I mean, I'm not going to act like I watched the Phoenix Coyotes games like intently and knew all the ins and outs of his game recently, or I know he played in Florida there, but I was like, this guy's a pretty high caliber individual. Yeah, he's not 27 years old, but he's not old, and he's got the tools to move the puck and do the right things in Toronto. So I was kind of confused at the hate, but I didn't really speak up because, again, I figured they knew something that I didn't. But he's come in and been absolutely rock solid. Like, he's basically been the leadership of that decor, if you ask me. I know you got Morgan Riley and Tanev, and Tanev, when you watch, he's just so much quieter, but when you just focus on him, he is just a man's man of a defenseman, and he just plays defense, shuts things down, gets it up the wall, doesn't bobble it ever, makes the right play, gets it to his partner, alleviates stress and pressure all the time. Unbelievable. And even Connor Timmins last night, like, those 50-50 pucks, he makes the right decisions. He's very hard and confident on pucks, and doesn't have those breakdowns that end odd man rushes and whatnot. He stays solid on the puck and gets it deep, gets it in the hands of the forward. It's impressive. And I got to tip my cap to this decor, because it's been somewhat of an Achilles heel for this team for a little while, and their additions have been panning out phenomenally, and their question marks have been panning out as quite positives as well. And yeah, I hope they give him a little ovation for his 1,000th back when they're at home. And I was thinking about him, through the first 40 minutes going, it sucks for OEL to kind of have such a downer back-to-back garbage games, and lo and behold, they pull it off, and maybe you got to celebrate a little bit.
Vicus Patronus, thank you so much for the super chat. Have a great weekend, guys. Say hey to Jamie from Sweden as well. Jamie's coming up in mere moment. Seems I have as much luck on the dating scene as the Leafs have winning the cup. Rosie, your thoughts on that?
Wow, so he struck out, or what's
I guess so,
going
man.
on?
He's
Poor
full
guy.
Joey
He's airing
Gallo
his
on the
dirty
dating
laundry
scene.
in the chat. Hey, keep your chin up, buddy. Keep swinging out there. You're due.
Giving dating advice here on Leafs One Take. The following interview is brought to you by Charm Diamond Centers. Get custom ring building delivered in less than 4 weeks with the Charm Masterpiece Program and unbeatable pricing policy. Charm Diamond Centers is proudly Canadian owned and operated since 1972 with more than 85 locations across the country through Charm and their sister brands. For more information, go to charmdiamondcenters.com as you bring in the one and only Jamie Noodles McLennan. What's going on, Noodles?
How you doing, guys? What's going on?
Not too much. I guess we're giving dating advice on today's show. We're also giving advice on this Maple Leafs team. Just describe your range of emotions, I should say, in watching that game last night in DC.
I mean, it was weird. There's a saying, like, they kind of didn't piss a drop for 40 minutes. It felt like, I felt like Washington, and that being said, Washington, I thought, played a pretty good game, like really tight defensively. I thought they were on top of them as far as pucks. There wasn't a lot of room out there for the Leafs to move, but they got going. I don't know what the hell was going on. Goalie interference, not goalie interference, high stick, not high stick. Like, I think both coaches are like, what are we doing here? But when it was all said and done, you got some big performances or big, moments from some big players. And that's really what it was. Marner scores, Nylander scores, although it was, Tom Wilson. I honestly, if I was thinking about it last night, I feel like the play from Tom Wilson was the TSA. Like, that was the turning point. That was your turning point right there. That turnover, you're up 3-1, and the Leafs weren't really pushing too much. Yes, he had some favorable calls, but you have that turnover. It's a great read by Knies inside that blue line. He almost gets it by the goalie, and then Nylander slams it home. And right when they scored, I was like, okay, now they're gonna tie it for sure. Like, I felt in my mind, I'm like, they've got one. They weren't getting some luck there with the high stick or not high stick or whatever. Lorenz kicks it in, not kicked in off the whatever the thigh pad. I didn't understand some of the calls, but at the end of the day, I knew the minute that they picked off that Tom Wilson puck, I'm like, okay, they're going to at least tie it and get a point and see what happens. So Range of emotions. Yeah, range of emotions. Watching a team going, geez, they don't have it again tonight, and all of a sudden, okay, we found enough to get the win, and that's really what they did. And they get on the plane happy. I heard you talking before I came on. OEL. It's always nice that the guy has his 1,000th game. If you're going to have a little party later to celebrate a win, instead of going, hey, we got rinsed tonight or didn't play well, but let's still get drunk and have a good time.
I want to ask your opinion, Noodles, on those, questionable calls, specifically with the goaltender interference. It's kind of been, a hot topic lately with some goaltenders in the league voicing their opinion. What's your take on that? Do you take the time to get it right? Where's the line? What do you think as a former goaltender?
It's hard. Everyone calls me a goalie hugger, and you're like, okay, you want everything that is no goal. That's not true. I actually thought that was a goal last night. I'm sorry. I thought like there was a little bit of contact with Joe Wall's blocker. So, absolutely. But my only philosophy with goaltender interference is the goaltender has to be afforded the room to make the save. Joe Wall wasn't moving. He wasn't trying to fight for position. If anything, I can't remember who bumped him, but it was Hakanpää that created a lane for that player to go around. And he goes around, and there is a slight touch with the blocker. So technically there is contact. I'm not going to disagree with that. But if you look at the overhead, it wasn't like Joe Wall was trying to push into it with the blocker. It wasn't like he was trying to move and fight for position. He was already set. He was trying to find a sight line, which there was bodies everywhere. That was in and out of the net before anybody knew it, including the goalie. And I don't think a slight touch on the blocker had anything to do with it. That being said, I think they're always trying to err on the side of caution. But, I work with Hayes. Hayes always says, he goes, you're going to get a call, and eventually you're going to get a call against that you don't like. That, in the end, they ended up winning. But it's like pass interference. What is it? Like when it's subject to opinion. So the three of us are on this call. All three of us could have looked differently at that play and given it a really sound opinion. But that's when it becomes opinion, that's where I struggle with. And I think you're going to get to a point where it's either going to cost somebody a playoff round, a series, I don't know if it cost the Buffalo Sabres a Stanley Cup. They might have lost or whatever. But Brett Hull with the toe in the crease, all of that type of stuff. I think what you're trying to do is get it right within reason. But it's paralysis by overanalysis. I think the ref looks at it. He goes, I think it's goalie interference and not, and you move on. But I don't know. I feel like I know the rules. I feel like I know the game pretty good. And there's I thought the Lorentz goal would have counted. It went off his leg, and he kind of moved his leg, and I don't know. So I couldn't. Last night there was two calls where I was like, if I was in the war room, I would have called them differently. But I don't know if I'm right or wrong. And believe me, I don't know if you guys have had the luxury to sit in that war room. It's a pretty cool thing, and they do a really good job in there. They're watching all the games. Everybody crowds around for opinion if there's something there. Like I think the process is good. It just, we disagree with the outcome sometimes. So I don't know what the solution is.
Well, exactly. I mean, so much confusion in the world right now when it comes to interference and all that stuff in the NHL. And that game in general, I felt just dragged on. In fact, Al's brother, for some reason, was texting me off the hook last night, complaining about the end time of that game. I'm like, dude, you have a hot date? He had a hot tub time coming or something. I don't know.
Charcuterie board he's got to get to or something. Who knows?
It was bizarre. I'm like, dude, why are you so wrapped up in the ending of this game? But nevertheless, I wanted to get to you about Logan Thompson. It really felt like the Leafs were having their issues in the first two periods specifically. Was it the whole thing about him being a lefty? Like, we don't see them very often, right?
Yeah, Simmer brought it up on the broadcast, and I kind of chuckled because, I think players, it is true. Players like, Rosie, you were a left shot, right? So, like, left shot always likes to look top glove, cross body, like certain things. All of a sudden, you got a guy standing there, which like, it looks a bit weird. Like not every, and think about specifically the Washington Capitals have two of them. They've got Logan Thompson and Charlie Lindgren. So you got two lefty goalies. And so I think it does mess a little bit with a guy who has a specific shot. I played with Jerome McGinley. His shot was just inside the blocker post, right above the right pad. For me, all of a sudden, that's a glove hand for a lefty goalie, and that's an easy save for him because the glove is, very mobile. So I think it does mess with you a little bit. But these guys are so good. If there's a space, they'll take it. I thought Logan Thompson made some good saves. And then I thought as the game went on, he kind of lost. Like even on the Marner tying goal, like if you look at him, it comes across, he ends up doing the breaststroke. Like he didn't, like it was weird. I know he was trying to get from left to right, but if you actually look at where, like Marner didn't get all of it. It kind of like rainbowed a little bit. Like it went over him on the, I guess we'll call it the blocker side. But Thompson was just trying to get across and cover the ice. But I do believe a lefty goalie does mess a little bit with the guys if they have a specific spot that they like to hit.
Interesting. I always felt that the regular style goalies, their knobs got in the way of the top left corner that I like going. I swear I'd still be in the league if I didn't hit all those knobs.
Honestly, you think about it though. Like I don't know how many times in my career, like the shaft of the stick and the knob, like made saves where people are like unbelievable save. I'm like, no, that's just like it just happened to be there, like the shaft of the stick. And I didn't have like a Mark Stone, like Mark Stone's the knob of his stick is just ridiculous. Like it's four rolls of tape. But for me as a goalie, I don't know how many times like you get a piece of it with the shaft of the stick or the knob, and it would be a save, and people would be like, "Oh, really good save, really good position." I'm like, that beat me if I just had my stick just happened to be a little extra long on that position.
Well, I wanted to ask you, changing topics a little bit, about Max Domi right now. He hasn't had this kind of point dry spell in his entire career. He's struggling. He's starting to, make defensive mistakes. He might be trying too hard at the moment, but a guy that could really help this team and be the engine to a lot of the Craig Berube philosophies. What's your take on what's going on with Max Domi right now?
So you can clearly see he's overthinking. Like I don't know if you watch athletes who are talented. Max he's a really good skater. He's got good hands. You can see he thinks the game well. Hold on, sorry, I got a call coming in. I got to block it. Anyways, so you get with Max. Like to me, he's overthinking the game early on. I don't know if you guys. I'm going to throw it back to you early on because I'm going to get to your answer. But I think early on, outside of William Nylander, everybody was trying to impress Craig Berube. So Max is wanting to drop the gloves, showing how tough he is, and there were guys that were stepping out of their comfort zone. I even thought Mitch Marner was playing more straight line, not circling back, not doing things that you would expect out of Mitch to be creative. And so this is going to tie into my Max Domi answers. I think early on he was trying to play a different game where it's like, hey, I want to get involved physically. Hey, I want to, show Craig Berube like I'm capable of doing everything. And then what's happening is he's a pass first guy. So 2-on-1, he's always looking for somebody, And as a goalie, I'm like, if I do my pre-scout, I'm cheating to whoever he's passing to because he's not going to shoot that puck. I'd like to see him be more selfish, and that comes. But clearly, in the last couple games, I've watched him. I was in the building on Tuesday, watched the game last night. He's thinking. And you guys know, Jay, you know what it's like when you're thinking out there, you're already a step behind because you're not reacting. You're not using your God-given talent. And Max is a talented guy. He's quick. He's got good hands. He's got good vision. And I think he's sitting there getting the puck and going, okay, what next do I have to do with it instead of just making a play? And I think once he gets out of his own head, and it's easier said than done, he will be fine. We saw he had a really rough, we'll call it a rough start to his Leaf career last year, and then he really got going. Guys that talented, guys that driven, it's just a matter of when, like if and when. Like it's not if, it's when. And I think he's going to be able to turn it on. But you're right. Like they're not getting much out of, the guy, the $33 million they were paying the three guys last night. Those are the guys that delivered the win, and Bobby McMahon too. But ultimately, the guys they pay the most money to on as far as a contract status, they got them the win last night.
I asked Rosie this question earlier on. How big do you think Matthew Knies' nuts are?
They're getting.
Dude, like, oh man, we love him on this podcast. I don't know how much you pay attention to what we do, but man, this guy, he is so likable, Noodles.
He is, and he's got he's just like O calls it hockey head. Like he's got this big head, he's got this big body. Like, and he's starting. What's exciting for me is watching a young player figure out the league. Your first time around, your first year, you just kind of, everything's overwhelming. And say it's new building, new players to play against, and that. And then your second time around, you're like, okay, I know this league. Now he's starting to realize, okay, I'm big. I'm a lot bigger than a lot of guys out here. I can win a physical battle. I can hold on to the puck a little bit more. I can do he had that shot in the slot last night. Like that was a pretty impressive play because it comes to him and it almost like you can tell he's watched Austin. You can tell he's watched guys because he turned and fired it like really quick. And I thought Thompson made a good save, and it was the same type of thing. Thompson made the save with the glove where that would have been blocker side on other goalies. But I think Knies is, I don't want to say scratching the surface because you are seeing some good things, and we saw some good things last year. But it'll be impressive to see what he's like 3 years from now when he just knows the league inside and out and knows, hey, I can hold on to this puck a little bit more on the wall because nobody's going to take it from me. Or I can get there on the forecheck and I can run somebody through the boards because I'm bigger and stronger than them just naturally. So it is exciting to see the progression of a player. And it doesn't hurt to play with those two guys. I mean, honest to God, get your stick on the ice and go to the net, and you're going to get some good things. Ask Bunting, ask Zach Hyman. That's really what it is.
True. How about Joseph Woll having that hiccup at the start, not even making it to opening night, getting the injury, and then the mental side of it to have Stolarz just absolutely take off and be the talk of the town. How have you liked his response to that? And now that he's got a couple games under his belt, where do you think his head's at?
A lot better. It's hard when you start the season, and the thing is unfortunately you didn't start the season with a clean slate because everybody remembers Game 7. So it was a continuation of Game 7 into the opening night where this guy's skating and plays the last game of the of the exhibition, and he's scheduled to start. All of a sudden, he's not starting, and you're like, okay, that's weird. And then you don't want that tag of a guy who's like not available, when the chips get down or in big games or anything. And he's got to escape that. But I've liked that. And I know it shouldn't be a feather in his cap. It's like, hey, he's healthy and we're not talking about injuries now. Now we're just talking about quality of play. That's good because now you're through that first hurdle. And then into the next hurdle is like, okay, now you got a fight on your hands. Because I'll be honest, like I thought the only guy who played the other night against Ottawa was Stolarz. That wasn't a 3-0 game. I think that was 5 or 6. Like, yeah. I thought Stolarz was really, really good. Now, you could argue that Ullmark made a couple big saves too as well, so that, the score could look different. But I look at it, and I think Joseph Woll has a fight on his hands because Stolarz has really settled in. He's a big goaltender. The way that the Leafs defend might work for a guy who's 6'6" and doesn't have to be stretched out where the teams give up these backdoor plays all the time. In other situations, maybe Stolarz hasn't had the success where he's played in other markets, other teams that aren't as good defensively. The attention to detail isn't there. So it seems like a really nice fit. So Joseph Woll, this is a healthy competition in net. Now it's a battle for who's going to play, a battle for who gets more confidence from the coaching staff, from the team. And I don't mind that because if you sit back and go, hey, we got two capable goaltenders, that's a good thing for a team.
Yeah. And bottom line, I think there's a really good ease and comfort level when it comes to Toronto's crease, and you haven't been able to say that in quite some time. Noodles, we love you. I know you're a busy dude. Thank you so much for stopping by today. Enjoy the call tonight. It's the Flyers and the Sens on TSN, right?
Yeah, it is. I'm in Ottawa. I was at morning skate. Just had a good chat with Linus Ullmark and Tim Stutzler, who got a puck in the eye. That was a little scary. He was talking about that. So had a few chats with those guys and stopping chats. But yeah, it's good. Should be a good game. It'll be interesting to see if Ottawa can follow it up after playing really good against Boston, really good against the Leafs. Now you get Philly, that on paper it's a lesser team technically. Do they take their foot off the gas? Do they get complacent? So it'd be interesting to see. So thanks for having me, guys. I hope I wasn't too late. I got here on time.
Oh, you killed it.
Perfect. Thanks, Jamie.
My wife was interrupting us with a call too, so apologies. But
They do
What's
that.
those Taylor Swift tickets, eh? Taylor Swift tickets.
that's what it is, though. We're sending our daughter. She's
Knew it.
going. She's going, but not in Toronto. I had to grease them in Vancouver.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah, so I gotta work. I'm gonna have to work for another extra couple of years to pay for that flight.
I
So
believe it.
Oh
I
my
believe
goodness.
it. Good for
Thanks,
you, man.
guys.
Thank you.
thanks for having me. Take care.
Jamie McLennan from TSN, one of our favorites here on Leafs Morning Take. Man, I'm telling you right now, that is the talk of the city right now is Taylor Swift, man. The next 2 weeks are going to be pandemonium,
If she
dude.
just sells out 6
Oh,
shows,
it's
like,
nuts.
does she
It's
just have
nuts.
a money printing machine on her jet that she brings with her to every city? It's just unbloody believable. And I don't know. Parts of me couldn't give a rip, and another part of me is like, I gotta see this show. Like, what is the deal with this chick? It's pretty impressive.
Yeah, people in the chat calling me a closet Swiftie. I'll just admit it. I have
Sounds like
Taylor
it.
Yeah, no, I have Taylor Swift. I have songs. I don't know. I'm not afraid to say it. I mean, she's the biggest star in the world, and I think Travis Kelce's a good dude. I saw pictures last night, Travis Kelce, and I heard Taylor Swift was with Kelce. It makes sense at dinner on King Street West. So I'm like within earshot of these people, you know?
My goodness, my goodness. You could go get
Yeah.
a sight of one of them leaving the back door or something. Yeah, I guess.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
got nothing against them. She's got some good tunes, a couple of
Yeah.
them. Some of them are kind of whiny, but she's obviously doing something right. My goodness, that tour is like nothing the world's ever seen.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I think we got to get away from gifting these superstars with jerseys. Okay. You think Taylor Swift needs another Maple Leafs jersey? Like every stop, it's like, here's our jersey in Los Angeles. Here it is in Chicago. Like, what do you think she does with all these jerseys and memorabilia when she's given like gifts?
She never sees them again as soon as she steps off the stage. That's what happens. She doesn't. What,
Yeah.
what do you think she's gonna do with a goddamn? What would you do if you went and got a Chicago Bears jersey? Who gives a shit?
Yeah, I'm not a football guy. I would just probably wipe my ass with that after taking a dump. I don't know.
Oh, that
Sorry.
was
Sorry to Bears fans.
rude and uncalled for, Nicholas.
Yeah, my mistake. So I don't know. To an extent, I understand these people spending all this money for Taylor Swift. Having said that, I always battle back with I watched this concert on Amazon for a cheaper price.
You did it. Is it good or what? Is
It's
it anything
good.
creepy?
Everybody like I've seen people that like in person, they're like it's a different experience, this and that. I get it. I'm not a concert guy. Like you have to be concert fan to really take it in and appreciate it.
Well, I'm going to Springsteen on Saturday in Calgary, so I'll let you know how my experience is going. But I do think we've spent enough time talking about T. Swizzlington on this.
You're
on
right.
this
AK says,
episode.
Nick, you're sus as fuck. JS says, crude. Sorry, I won't wipe my ass with a Chicago Bears uniform. My mistake. Sorry.
Give it to him, chat. Give it to him. He's got to learn. He needs to learn.
You said you're watching Springsteen?
Yeah, the
That's
boss is
sick.
coming to town. I'm gonna go check.
Unreal.
Him out. So yeah, it should be good.
Sweet.
Arkells and now this. It's pretty sweet.
Killing it, dude. It's time for the last call brought to you by Bet365. Opening an account with Bet365 today and bet on a huge range of markets. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Use code NATION, all in uppercase today. I'm going to keep my bet simple. Got the Maple Leafs win last night. I was texting you saying, hey, do I keep this bet? They came back to make it 3-3. I held on, hit that money line at plus money, feeling good. I'm going to play Minnesota in regulation tonight against the Montreal Canadiens. Marc-Andre Fleury, it's his final season. He's from Quebec. Still has to make his return, his last return to the Bell Center. That's coming up later on this season. But he has owned Montreal historically. The Wild have owned Montreal in general the last little while. I think they've won 6 or 7 in a row against them. So that's going to be my play, the Wild in regulation against Minnesota.
Decent. I'm going back to the Nashville Predators. I think it's a matter of time before they pull themselves out of this bit of a funk they have. And the Edmonton Oilers, I just don't believe in them. I think last year everything went well. They're still favored in many ways to win the Stanley Cup, which just blows my mind. I don't believe they're the real deal this year, despite McDavid and what Draisaitl are doing. And those veterans down in Nashville have got to figure things out, and I think they might have a chance tonight, and they are heavily favored. As you know, I like that plus money, plus 155 on that one.
I'm getting a lot of heat in the chat about me revealing that I'm a bit of a Swiftie. My apologies, folks. I think we're going to lose some subs today. That sucks.
I'm not surprised whatsoever.
Fair enough. Okay, Rosie, excellent job today. We'll be back in the mix on Friday. McDavid and company are in town on Saturday. We didn't even get to what's going on with Austin Matthews. We'll talk about that tomorrow. He hasn't skated since Sunday. I think I get what's going on. We're not privy to information. We know how they treat their star players and injuries in general, but we'll tackle that coming up tomorrow. We'll set you up for the weekend as well.
Yeah, boy. Looking forward to it, man. See you then.
Great job, producer Andy. Killed it. We're 1-0 in the producer Andy era. Of course, the Maple Leafs coming from behind. Always great to see. We love producer Vic. Hope he's having a great time down south already for this week-long bachelor party at a resort. Love to see that. Thank you to the chat. You guys are great today at the Leafs Nation 401. Hit that subscribe button. Hit that like button. Don't forget to leave us a 5-star review in podcast form. Don't forget to visit theleafsnation.com. Also, many thanks to Jamie McLennan for dropping by, for producer Andy. And Jay Rosehill, I'm Nick Alberga. We'll talk on Friday. Take care.